Hey everyone, it's Kyle. This is actually recording on my car's microphone, so I hope it doesn't sound like total and complete shit, but the car and my glasses are jockeying for who gets to be the microphone on this recording, and the car keeps winning. So I'm going to have to go with car because I've been trying to figure this out for months, and it just doesn't seem to work. Short of completely disconnecting from the car, which would ultimately ended up cutting off Android Auto and everything, then there's no other way to do this. So here we go. We're going to record on the microphones built into the car. I've never had any complaints on phone calls, so it should sound okay. It might sound like I'm in a tin box. I have no idea. All right. So, special report here, guys. And you might be asking yourself, what? Special report for what? Well, I'm going to go see a movie. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about this movie and the person who made this movie. And I say person because it's primarily one person. So you probably may already know who or what this movie is. But I do want to mention a movie we also saw this weekend. My wife and I, we saw actually on Valentine's Day. Kind of funny. We went and had a nice meal and everything the Friday before Valentine's Day. And then on Valentine's Day, we actually had already set up to go see the film Send Help. I'm not sure if you've heard of that movie, but that is the latest film by one of my favorite directors, and that is Sam Raimi. I think he's one of the most inventive, creative directors out there, simply because of how he got started and what he did in his first few films, and then how he still keeps and maintains aspects of that sort of filmmaking that he was forced to do back then because he didn't really have the budget. So, Send Help is a story about a woman who is kind of, an office worker who's super smart and brilliant and everything, but she's pretty dumpy. She lives by herself with her bird, actually, so not by herself, but she's very unkept, so she just doesn't really worry about what she looks like or how she dresses or anything like that. And she's in a high class, super ultra business type environment, and she's doing the work, but she's never getting any boost up and stuff because she's unpresentable to these rich, high-end management types in the corporate world. But they couldn't do what they're doing without her, and she had met the new CEO, which is the son of the man that she worked for before, who loved her and knew that she had control of everything. Pay attention to the picture in the office of the son when you go see this film, and as to who that father was played by. And I'm not going to say he's played by, but who they cast as the father, basically. It's pretty awesome. Another bid back to how Sam Raimi got started. And there are several shots. Long story short, she gets passed. She has been passed over time and time again for promotions and stuff. But her boss, the man who passed away, whose son is taking over now, he had promised her that she would get a VP position coming up. Okay. And so, long story short, the son, before he doesn't really care for her, and there are some shots in this sequence. She's a survivalist. She watches Survivor all the time. So when they show her apartment, she's got all these books about what to do to survive. I mean, she's really into it, and she knows a lot about it. So cut back to a sequence in the office where she's having her lunch or whatever, and the new CEO is walking through, who's this son. And she's met him before. They talked quite a bit at a Christmas party. But, of course, he wants nothing to do with her, man. Part of her lunch is on her face. And there's this sequence of shots that are so Sam Raimi. It's awesome. I love it. I love the way he did it. It's just kick ass, man. I love how he maintains where he came from. Okay, and long story short, the guy's like, look, I want to take you with us to this deal, and I'm trying to remember where it was. It was in Bangkok, maybe, but I want to take you there with us because we need you to help figure out this one problem we're having with the business and blah, 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 blah. And so they're on the plane or whatever, and the guys are all the guys that are on there, of course it's just her, and it's a boys club, you know, they're all kind of making fun of her and teasing on her and everything, and and all of a sudden, plane wreck, right down into the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, right, and not a place you want to be crashing. Right? Not that you ever want to crash in the ocean, but you really don't want to crash in the ocean here. And she ends up getting out of the whole thing, and it looks like everybody else is gone. And she swims to safety nearby. There's an island, and she swims to that and wakes up on the beach, apparently. And so she starts building a shelter and all that stuff and doing all this stuff, and then she kind of looks down the way and she sees there's someone else is there, another survivor, and so she goes to get this person, and oh, lo and behold, it's the son that's taken over the corporation and has been a dick to her, right? So there you go, hilarity and violence and all kinds of shit happens after that, right? And it's bizarre. It's a bizarre film, but damn it, if it wasn't bizarre film, it wouldn't be a Sam Raimi film. So what else has Sam Raimi directed? Okay, well, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, those are 3 big ones, but there's bigger. Probably the biggest film he ever did is the very first huge budget screen version of Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and it has one of the most famous kisses of all time in it, but it's a great movie too. Willem Dafoe's in it as well, and then there's 2 sequels, and then there's another Spider-Man group of films, and then there's a sequel to that one, and then there's another Spider-Man, and we're getting ready to have our 4th one of those. So, and they've even brought back the old Spider-Man. So it's his work has really gone into a lot of things that you see out there. He also did a film called Drag Me to Hell, which a lot of people consider to be one of the best horror films that's been released. And, you know, it harkens back to Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is one of my very favorite films. I loved it as a teenager. I have it, I've probably got it on every freaking format that ever existed. As a matter of fact, I know I do on every disc format, short of Laserdisc. But I have it on, I don't have it on HD DVD, which is fine, because I also don't have a way to play HD DVD. But I do have it on DVD, a couple different versions. I have it on Blu-ray, and then I have it on 4K in a couple different versions. So it's a movie that I really love, and it just, you know, I read a book about how they made these films back in the day when he didn't have any money. His brother's in these films too, Ted Raimi. He unfortunately got stuck in a lot of the suits, in the body suits with prosthetics and stuff, to play some nasty ass monsters. but he did what it took, you know. And Bruce Campbell, who plays the main character in those films, Ash, he helped too. It was, you know, they were a group of friends that were making films, and they did whatever it took. You know, they couldn't afford a Steadicam, so they took a 2x4 and affixed the camera in the middle of the 2x4, and each person grabbed one end, and they ran through the woods and tilted it right and left and up and down. I'm not tilt, that's pan. So they tilted it up and down, and then even panned it right and left a little bit, and it kind of gave a smooth feel to it, like a Steadicam. And those shots are in those films, and they look great, man. And when you understand just how hard these guys work to create these stories and do what they believed in, it's really an amazing thing that they were able to pull it off, and that they ended up, Bruce Campbell's had a great career since then. Sam Raimi obviously has had a great career. There's another film of his, and I need to look it up, but it's kind of a murder mystery, and I really, really like it. I'm going to look it up real quick here. I can do it. Hold on. And let me just take a look and see what this film is called, because I also think that is one of his finest films from back in that time. Now, sure, all these films have issues, right? I mean, come on. They weren't giant budgets, and even giant budget films have issues, right? I mean, that's pretty common knowledge. But still, he's really produced some amazing stuff, and to me, it's just awesome to see how successful he is and how great things have been. I guess he produced that. I want to see director, not producer. He did a film, in the 90s. I'm trying to remember the name of this one, but I really, really loved it. Yeah, Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. Oh, The Gift. The Gift. Check that movie out if you get a chance. It's an interesting kind of murder mystery about people who can kind of see things that maybe they shouldn't be able to see, like an extrasensory type of scenario. And it's really, really well done, and it's just a cool film. It has some very frightening moments in it, like a lot of his films. Even in this Send Help, there's a few moments in here where you're like, holy shit, but he's good at all of that. He's good at creating these atmospheres. He's good at presenting a story that's different and strange and making you relate to this and relate to people that are odd. He's just really good, and it's all developed through the fact that he started as a zero-budget indie filmmaker, kind of like Peter Jackson, who went on to do The Lord of the Rings and King Kong and The Hobbit, and, I love his old horror films, but a great film of his also that a lot of people don't know about, Heavenly Creatures. If you get a chance to see that movie, check that movie out. That's a wild film, but it is amazing. And so I love stuff like that. All right, so now let's talk about what it is I'm going to go see. And I've seen the first big piece of media that this fella created. But this one is called Iron Lung. And this is by Markiplier, is what his name is on online. He's been a YouTuber and an online personality for a long time. And he made a TV series about not falling asleep that's pretty odd. I'll see if I can find that for you and put a link to that in the notes, or I'll just forget and you'll be forced to try and figure it out yourself, which I can help you with that. GOOGLE.com. Okay? You can find it that way. Markiplier, just how it sounds. MARKIPLIER, like multiplier, but with Mark. Anyway, Iron Lung. Iron Lung is a film based on a video game from, I don't know how long ago, but long story short, prisoners, everything in as far as our planet has gone, the stars have, there's just problems with our galaxy and problems with everything with humanity. And they're trying to figure a way out of it. And one of the things they do is they take people who are prisoners, and there is this one planet that is basically a giant ocean of blood. Yeah, I know. That sounds a little, what? But that's the story. And on this giant ocean of blood planet, they take the prisoners and put them in a submersible to try and figure out what's down there in this ocean. And that's a character Markiplier plays in this. He also produced this, wrote it, and directed it. And this film, the weekend it came out, was the #1 film in the nation. It's crazy because it was up against some pretty heavy hitters that just didn't do as well. And a lot of people went and saw this film. And there's some very touching videos from Markiplier on YouTube at how joyous he is with what happened and how excited he is to know that there is still a place for indie filmmakers. I think he made this film on a shoestring budget, which could be just a couple $1 million these days. And it is more than made back its money well over a couple dozen times, I believe. And so it's a success, and it's been a successful film, and it's still on. This is almost a month later, and it's still on in theaters, and I'm going to go see it right now. I've not been able to get away and go see it, but here I am, and I'm excited to check it out. I've heard it's a pretty slow burn, a pretty slow film at the outset, and it kind of works its way up, but it's a good film. It's a well-made film, well-acted, well-written, everything, and so I'm excited. I'm excited to check it out. I'm excited to help an independent filmmaker. I don't give a shit if he's a YouTuber. Doesn't matter to me. How's the movie? And so it's going to be pretty cool, and I'm excited to check it out. I did download the game to try and play it, and I was like, nope, I don't like it. And it's not because it was scary or weird or anything. It was just kind of like, what the hell's going on in this game? This is weird. I just didn't care for it. Didn't like any of the controls. Didn't really, I don't know. It's just weird. But I've heard the movie's good. I'm going to go in. I'm going to go check it out. And then I'm going to come out, and on the ride home, I'm going to talk to you guys about it and discuss my thoughts on it, how I feel about it, and all that jazz. So sit tight. I'll be back after the movie. I've just pulled in and getting ready to go in and see it. And I'll be back after the film and talk a little bit about what I think about it. And I'm hopeful. Talk to you guys soon. Okay, everybody, I just got out of the movie and just more trouble with recording, so I'm actually using my watch. Insane, dude. Technology, great when it works, not great when it doesn't work. But I guess at least I have the capability to do this, right? I mean, realistically, the Ray-Ban Metas should have automatic setup in their software so that you can record audio, but they don't. I'm sure stuff's coming with them, but still. All right, on the subject of Iron Lung. Well, I mean, there's a couple things I will say about it. I mean, number one, it is well shot. It is well made and well executed as far as the overall look and feel of it. The sound production on it's really high level. I was really pretty excited about that. They did a really good job there. He was great acting. Markiplier was great in it. The other supporting cast was great. They weren't in it very much in person. Usually mostly voices. And I mean, it's an interesting story. The only thing I would say is there's a lot of vagary in it. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what happened or what is happening at the end, at the conclusion of the film. But it's interesting. It just kind of seemed to go in a direction that I guess it alluded to before, but not really. I don't even really know how to explain it. Again, it looked good and it sounded good. It was well acted. It's just towards the end, it was kind of like, oh, what now? You know, it was kind of one of those things. And I'm pretty good. I'm not slow on the uptake. I can figure things out, but I mean, the whole idea of it kind of is nonsensical. You know, here he is, a prisoner, used as a test subject, basically, in this submersible at the bottom of an ocean of blood on another planet because of this quiet rapture that's happened to humanity. So it's kind of an odd idea to begin with. But the conclusion of the film is just full of vague notions and ideas of what may have happened. Even though you're sitting there watching it and you see it happening, I mean, there's one shot at the very, very end of it that kind of clears it up a little bit, and I kind of get the idea, but at the same time, I don't know. I think for most people, it's not going to be clear-cut enough, but again, it's already a success. The only thing I would say is there's no way on planet Earth that this film would ever get made by a big movie studio. There's no way. They would have had their hands in so much that it just wouldn't have gotten finished, you know? It would have been one of those things where like, sorry, man, if you're not going to listen to us, we're not going to pay for this. And that's kind of what happens from my understanding. I don't know. I've never made a film in Hollywood. I've never made a full-length feature film at all. So I wouldn't really know. But again, for what they did and the look and the sound production on it and all that stuff, wow. I mean, pretty amazing for such a small amount of money. And a novel idea as far as the general story and the idea behind it, but just flawed in its execution just a touch at the conclusion of the film. That's what I would say. One other quick pointer I just want to say to all of you out there, if you have an aversion to blood, yes, the liquid that flows through all of us and all living creatures on this planet, if you don't like blood, not that I like blood, but if you can't handle blood, you do not want to see this film. I mean, it's everywhere a lot. So just know that. But, there's slight bits of gore as far as the horror aspects of it and things that happen, but that's not so rough as much as the blood is. I mean, it's like a non-stop battering ram of liquid, and it gets to you after a while. I know towards the end of the film, it doesn't really usually bother me, but I was kind of like, okay, man, fuck, that's enough. You know? So I will tell you that for sure. But again, overall, I think it's a complete success. I mean, geez, you know, here's this YouTuber that invested his own time and money and energy into creating this film, and I just went and saw it in a major movie theater in the middle of the United States on the afternoon of President's Day. So, I mean, the fact that it's still out there in a lot of theaters and still available to see in theaters, and they haven't hurried up and rushed it to pay-per-view or something like that, is kind of remarkable and definitely respectable and, wow, encouraging for young filmmakers out there. I think you guys can do it, you know? I wish, when I was sitting there before the film started and I was kind of thinking about things, it really, really, really got to me that I haven't really ever finished a couple of these script ideas that I've had. Now, I finished one script a long time ago, a full-length screenplay. It was submitted to the first Project Greenlight, actually. And I think I've talked about this on here before, but that's a long time ago, you know. But I submitted it, and it's a part of Project Greenlight then, and I think it would still be now. I don't know if it even still exists, but the people who submit have to agree to read 3 other people's screenplays, and then it gets percentage points or rating or whatever before it gets passed on, if it gets passed on. Well, mine did not get passed on. They passed on it, but it did not get pushed further, is what the point is. Which is interesting, because if you ever see the film that was pushed further, okay. But mine, 4 people actually read mine. And that's the other thing. You would get back the reviews or the comments from the other people that read scripts. So 4 people read mine. 3 of them were not very happy with me. They actually were like, what the fuck's wrong with you, kind of thing. And I get it. It's a very touchy subject that is contained within the story. There's no two ways about it. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, think about what's going on right now in our country as far as Epstein files goes. And this is way before any of that stuff. But yes, it's about a person who is in prison at the beginning of the story for being a sexual predator of children. And it's a rough story, but there is a point to it. And the point is not anything really other than the fact that, to me, at every angle, it feels like we don't handle the situation right. And I feel like there's got to be a better way to handle this. I'm not sure exactly what that is. But at the same time, I'm sure that it's not what's going on in our society. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Because, again, it's a really touchy subject. And the ideas that I present within the story are rough and touchy. So I'll just leave it there. But I have written some other screenplays, started a few others. There's one that I started a long, long time ago that is pretty odd, and it actually is kind of loosely based in some sort of occurrences that have happened in my life. But there's a particular scene within it that's really pretty crazy. And it's one of those scenes that, if it were ever made into a film, it's one of those scenes that everyone would just be taken aback by, and not expecting, and possibly horrified by. Well, I would say definitely horrified by. But it's not a horror film. It's kind of a action, crime, thriller, revenge type thing. But anyway, I was sitting there thinking about that, and I was thinking, God, why have I never finished that? I mean, I have some issues with some of it, and I need to probably hash out, but man, I should really finish that story. I really should. I need to. I mean, I'm getting old, too. I mean, at some point, people don't want to have anything to do with what I've written, and that may be already past, to be honest with you. But I have that, and then I have another story that concerns somewhat. Part of the story takes place on. I wouldn't say it necessarily concerns, other than it's a vehicle for the rest of the story. But part of the story takes place when the exact day, time, and place that 9/11 took place in New York City and by the World Trade Center. And it's a really interesting story too. And I think that it could be made into a film, but it would be a pretty big, sprawling epic. And the further we get away from 9/11, the harder it's going to be to make that film, because you're really going to have to pay attention to set pieces and clothing, so wardrobe, and also just everything as far as props and all that stuff. You really have to be able to focus on those things if you were making the film of this story. But those are the 2 stories I really just need to finish. I mean, I'm interested in this story that I wrote a long time ago for Project Greenlight, but at the same time, I mean, I will say this, and it's interesting because I did let a few of my friends read it back in the day, and there was a film that came out probably about 4 or 5 years after that first Project Greenlight, with Kevin Bacon, called The Woodsman. And the first 10 minutes or so of that movie is remarkably like the screenplay that I wrote. I'm not even kidding. It's, and I hadn't even seen it, but I had a couple friends approach me and say, "Hey, man, they totally stole your story." And I said, "Well, I mean, I know a little bit about that film. They didn't steal my story." And they said, "Dude, the first 10 minutes, I'm telling you, it's your screenplay." And I finally did watch it, and I have to agree, it's remarkably similar. So I don't know if someone else had read it and decided to go ahead and you know, take part of it and just use it for their own, you know. I don't know. I don't know how upset I am with it, to be honest with you. I'd say that's a little sense of pride for me, to be honest, that someone else thought it was good enough and they did kind of film part of what I had written. They thought it was well enough written that you know, hey, we're going to film this. So I do have that aspect. God dang it, dude. I hate the fact that I'm not even going to explain what's going on while I'm driving. Anyway, but yeah, so I did kind of walk away with that feeling like, hey, man, you know, you ain't getting any younger. You better finish some of this shit. And I agree. I do need to finish some of this shit. So I need to look into that, and I need to take it a little more serious and possibly complete a few of these things for sure. So anyway, but on the subject of Iron Lung, you know, again, I think it's a success. It's not my favorite film. I mean, there's aspects I really, really, really liked about it. But there's a couple aspects of it I just didn't care for, and I thought it was just kind of overkill. Number one, it's definitely very, very long. And I get it to a certain point because you have to really take time to build up a story like this, but at the same time, it feels exorbitantly long. So I will say that. And then again, the other thing I said, the blood thing, just it gets to the point where it's almost kind of just silly. Like, come on, man, you know? And maybe the way to cure that would be to have less of it going on early, you know? Make it more, it's kind of like when you see a horror film and there's a killer, you know, a masked killer or something like that, or there's a big spin in the story, a twist, and you know about it kind of early on, or they throw some other spins and twists at you early on, and then the big ones at the end. But it's not as big anymore because they've already kind of ruined the whole idea of it being big. Whether it be with other twists and you're just kind of like expecting something at the end now. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, that's kind of how I feel about Scream. I never really cared for that movie. I like the scene at the beginning of the first one where it's Drew Barrymore, I believe, plays the character I'm thinking of. And she's on the phone with someone and it's the killer. And that, I like that aspect, and I like that conversation. I like that, and I like Wes Craven too, by the way. But you know, really after that, it's pretty forgettable to me. And I know people love those films. The 7th one is coming, and I'm just like, okay, because it's like Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, the first one's fantastic, and maybe within the first 4, there's a couple that are good in there. But man, it gets out of hand. Just like anything like that. Halloween films or the Friday the 13th films, they're really the they're the epitome of overkill for sure, as far as riding something out way too far. But yeah, I mean, I think this film's interesting. I'll be really interested to see what he does next, because I think there's room for him to do some more stuff and to create more, and I'm sure he's planning on it. But the only thing I would say is, tighten up your script for sure, and don't be afraid to edit, because there's a lot of parts in this where it just was nonstop for so long that it's kind of like, okay, but overall, I still would give it a good rating. I would still say out of 5, it's probably like a 3.75. I wouldn't feel comfortable enough giving it a full 4, but I would give it 3.75. I think that it's good enough there. I think you can watch it at home. So when it comes out streaming or on digital media, that would be something to do. I don't think I would purchase it personally, because I just don't feel like some films, and it doesn't make them bad, but there are some films where it's like, okay, I don't need to see that again, ever, and that's not a negative. I'm not slamming on it. I'm just saying there's just no need to, the jig is up. I know what's going to happen. I know what happens, and I don't need to see any more of it, So there's that aspect of it. But yeah, again, if you're near a theater, you've got extra time, go see it, man. Help support independent films. Always go to the theater to see films if you can, right? Don't be crying about how much it costs to go. That's just how much it fucking is. You're going to see it in the best format you can. So quit whining. But you don't have to see this one, I don't think, necessarily, on the big screen. But I think it's worth seeing for sure. So go check it out if you get a chance, or like I said, pay-per-view it or get it when it comes out streaming or on digital media, because it's definitely worth a view, I would say. That's all I got, guys. I appreciate you guys listening. Have more coming up for you here in a couple weeks. And then, of course, there is a new Hawk Picks podcast episode that's pretty solid. I'm in talks with a up-and-coming, getting ready to release their first version of smart glasses. And I would say visual smart glasses. So there is a HUD display on this deal. That's heads-up display, so I shouldn't say display after that. But there is a HUD on these glasses, and it does a lot of other things. I like the Evan Realities glasses, the G2s, but the problem is no audio. I mean, I don't need a camera. I don't really care about that. My phone's a better camera anyway, and I'd rather pull that out to take pictures. I think you need a camera for the glasses to be able to identify things that you're looking at, but I don't need it to take pictures or videos, because number one, they're just not really that good yet. And number two, people are kind of creeped out by it, and I understand that. I do. All these people out there drilling the lights out of these Metas, dude, that's an asshole move, man. I'm sorry. People need to be aware that they're being recorded. Granted, you're being recorded everywhere you go anyway, because there's cameras at every traffic stop. There's cameras on buildings all over. So you're being recorded regardless. But being recorded by average citizens just because they're wearing so-called smart glasses is kind of stupid. And I've never done that. I've never recorded people like that. I've taken some pictures and done some recordings personal, but it has nothing to do with anyone else around. I don't think I would feel comfortable taking pictures like that out in the wild, or videos out in the wild, without people being aware that I'm recording or taking pictures of them. So I just won't do that. But, I have a conscience and some morals and ethics, but some people do not, they do not. Anyway, yeah, so I'm in talks with them. I'm trying to see if they can get me an advance pair. Now, I would have to have prescription, and I told them that. But I was planning on purchasing their glasses anyway, so no biggie on that end. So if I had to, supply them with a prescription money, I get that. But I'm very interested in their glasses, and I told them why. I said, I do podcasts, I do a couple different ones, but my side hustle is a resale deal on eBay. And one big thing that attracted me to smart glasses was the idea that I might be able to hold something up, look at it, and have AI identify what it is and tell me what an online resale value for this item is, so that I would know out in the wild if it's worth my time and money. Meta can't really do that. I can have Meta identify an item and tell me model numbers and stuff like that, but it cannot tell me. They have that shut off for some strange reason. it cannot tell me what the item is worth, or if it's valuable, or if it's selling, or anything like that. And that kind of sucks, because who gives a shit, number one? You know? I mean, I don't understand what they're afraid of. I guess people could use it to steal, but anyway, you can use a lot of things to steal that are out there in society, right? Anyway, I reached out to this company, and hopefully they'll respond to me. They had a call out for people to test them, the glasses, and I answered that, but they've never responded. And then they've also had a call out, they have a LinkedIn page, and that's where I went and contacted them today and sent them a message and just said, hey, this is why I'm interested in these, and I will yell from the rooftops about these glasses and let everybody know about them. And I definitely will recommend them if they work as advertised, So we'll see. You never know, man. Stranger things have happened. I've reviewed a lot of products, and that's been a pretty interesting ride as well, and gotten free products from people. I would hope they would provide me with the glasses completely, but I also know that's going to be expensive. So, I mean, again, I'm more than willing to pay for the prescription lenses. Anyway, guys, that's all I got, man. I appreciate you guys listening. So there's a previous episode of Hawk Picks. There'll be a new one of those next week. And then there'll be another one of these episodes in 2 weeks. So I'll put the links down below in the notes, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks. And if you're in my neighborhood, do me a favor and get off my lawn. Oh, by the way, this was just a special report. Usually I don't leave with that, but here we are. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.